The minute I feel any form of boredom, I get it out and I go look for an older one or a younger one or this and that. I don't want to be bored ever painting. Well, my parents came and established, my father, of course, established a business. Very, very important for, well, you see these lamps and all these furnitures, all this furniture called arte española. At that period, all the rich were importing it from Europe at great expense because of the weight, because of the space, because of the crates, because of this and that and that. Then father arrived, and then since he was basically a sculptor and knew all about iron because he knew how to handle it well, he saw that there was a big, wonderful chance here because he loved the place. He never went back to Spain. Father, they would come to us and say, "Oh yeah, but we have imported." He said, "Well, why do you spend your money that way when you can have it? And then you're making people here work."
Yes.
Okay. So my father taught them, those who did not know how to handle the artistic wrought iron, because horseshoes, they were very good pandays for that at that level. Horseshoes, there were so many horses. And then finally, well, my father taught them all, and it went on and on and on. It brought some problems. Matampusa, hilaw, and this. And I even had something that led to all the torture by the Japanese. The kids were, well, with you look different, you this and that. Well, that happens in the squatters were from very, very, very negative sides of Manila. So they started picking on me more and more and more. And one day we had a sort of fist fight, me alone against it. I thought, still the Japanese were there. Well, I was defending myself. And then I saw, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 Japanese officers, something, that came from a big bodega that was out there in Santa Ana. And I thought it was to just put some order there. And no, what they wanted is to have the fun for themselves. So they kicked out the other ones. And when I was starting to breathe again, they got a gun on my back. And they took me from that part of Santa Ana on to the Pasig River. They wanted to fight for themselves. They took me there. And the officer had his sable. And he wanted me to kneel down in front of him. But I had seen magazines like Life and Time and this or this, where there were little mountains of heads in China, and I just refused to kneel down in front of them. There was I think it didn't even have a name, a street that went all the way down to the Pasig River. And there were many Japanese boats, fishing boats. So all this was behind our store. And also behind Henry's store. Because we were about not farther than this. Henry was a very young fellow. And I must underline one thing that is very touching. If you say they had a grocery store, they will correct you. They say, no, it was a sari-sari. And apparently, Henry has told me many times in the past that I would be knocking on their back door and then hide. And apparently one day he caught me and gave me a little spanking. In that street, in Ichage, I almost was hacked to death. There is a bridge, let's say from Magnolia onto the Quiapo Market. Okay? And there's an estero.
Yes.
And, well, just out to look around as kids. I was still quite young then. And I went in, there were huge logs on both sides of the estero that had been there for some time, and I didn't realize that they were slippery because the moss between the logs were huge logs as big as this and piled up, etc., etc. And I went there with my painting box to paint, and I started painting. Yes, really. And for some reason, I back up to see my great masterpiece, between quotes, and I slipped and fell on what I thought was a pile of corrugated iron. It turned out to be, it was a living barong-barong. And it collapsed on people inside. And a man came out with a bolo.
Yeah.
Because they started screaming, the baby crying, the wife is screaming, and everybody. And he came out with a bolo like this. Boy. Yeah. And I was speaking. I felt so embarrassed. No, he wasn't a strict teacher, but a private tutor, which is a different mentality, of course. I had no competition. I was alone painting with my teacher. So, no, it wasn't difficult at all. I liked him very much as a person, and I admire him. His painting was very Amorsolo. The professor himself said, look, you cannot learn much more here. You have to go to either Santo Tomas or UP. Because here, you don't have models, you don't have this, you don't have that. And yes. It was kind enough, decent to say, oh, you're wasting your time here. You want to learn, of course I wanted it. So finally, I went to UP. Blind Beggar, I took that painting, it's quite big to travel with it. But anyway, I traveled with it, and in Rome, I presented myself. I underline not speak Italian yet. When I got, let's say, the main flavor of Rome, I had had enough.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because I wanted, it was more or less what they were teaching in UP. I could have, if I was going to stay a million years, maybe, but I wanted to learn something more. I have the same story twice. In different places. In Rome, it was the same thing. The top man said, yeah, but he does not know Italian. And the professor, he said, look the way he draws hands. The beggar, if he can paint hands like that, he will learn Italian. And in Paris, same thing. I had the same thing, the same painting, the same, I didn't speak French, and the big boss said, but he does not speak French.
Yeah.
And exactly. It was my passport, was those hands.
Yeah.
Those hands. No, truly.
Yeah.
Now I look at it and I say, God damn it, I really painted hands beautifully. At that period, I thought, well, fine, I'm doing it well, but now I say, boy, you were painting magnificent, at least those hands. That's why many have wanted to buy it, and I said, no, this is one I will never sell. Go erga. I was doing all these very dramatic things, and of course, knowing Goya, knowing this, knowing that, he said, yes, fine. This is very fine. I admire it very much. Do me a favor. Do me some flowers. Nobody pushes me around that much for me to really change everything, So, no. He said it in a very nice way. Print of the year for the Cleveland Museum of Art.
Yeah. And
boy, that is a major victory. I needed fine arts to be able to use the press for my etching.
Yes,
because it was an important part of my activity. Then I must say, thank you, Schiaparelli. She introduced me to one of the best galleries in Paris. Not the way I thought she would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, with a cocktail and this and that. She just, go see me, see this and that. And, So I thank her. They were very impressed. And then when I was bringing in the works that were more palatable, they were a bit surprised. They say, but you had this and that and that and that. And I said, well, go back to, But no, it was a good thing because they had the critics in there. Now, she was a difficult woman, but she knew how to deal with the press. I was on the side of a hill, quite an important hill, and with trees and this and that. And there were kids who were screaming and laughing. And then I told them, look, I'm working. I was painting there. I was painting and drawing. And so All of a sudden, silence. I said, oh, out. I ran away, and there were rocks coming down to where I was. They were throwing rocks. I could have been murdered. So what I did is I went around and then went up above them.
Yeah.
And I threw just small things to show them that I knew what they were doing, etc. But I had to leave the place. The minute I feel any form of boredom, I get it out, and I go look for an older one or a younger one or this and that. I don't want to be bored ever painting. Ever. Well, I suppose it's not what do you call that, a mathematical equation, but I know I've had enough of it. There are times when, if it's not artistic boredom, it is that my body doesn't want to work anymore. Yes, my eyes. There are times when I know I have to stop. I'm pushing myself, and I shouldn't push myself.
Yes.
I have to be working with really a passion. Well, first of all, it cost a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there was also a question of the timing of my schools and where I was learning new things like lithography. If not, certainly the dramatic side was a direct result from the war. That's 100% sure. The beggar, the blind one, this, and that, and the beggars, and that. All this was post-war, war, and post-war. It's not a luscious tropical landscape. Very much desert and beautiful tones of ochres and yellow ochres, and it's a very, very beautiful place. And also, they have something about the trees. Trees are almost sacred because they are registered and numbered. It means that the city hall is watching, and if you touch a tree or cut this or cut it down, you are in trouble. And these trees, but there's water coming from the high mountains that are almost eternal snow. They have all these trees. Many of them their roots are in the water. I don't know what kind of tree it is. And it goes all the way down, up to the sea, And they have full of little parks, very small parks, gardens. But absolutely. There's no other word for it. That's meant not marrying, not having this, not having that, not having a family. There are 100 things that have come with it. I've seen so many cases of artists begging you to buy their paintings. My father with Arte Español, they thought it was a gallery or something, and they would come in and really beg. Some of the paintings were not worthwhile even looking at them, But, well, Father would give, he gave other people, needy people, whatever. But they were a bit of a disaster to have them around. They don't know better. And I've seen myself at the very doors of all this, because all of a sudden there were no more dollars from Manila. Already with $150 a month in Paris, that's beggars' money. I'm not ashamed of having making sacrifices. Some say I'm a sucker, I'm a stupid, I'm this. No, they do, behind your back. When they decided that I was going to be a painter, some people crossed to the other side of the street not to say hello to me. They didn't realize I saw through the corner of my eye. I pretended I didn't see it. No, because truly in their limited capacities of enthusiasm for something that is not practical, painting, imagine. But look at Arte Español, it's rolling on gold and this and that, and look at this. His sister works, my mother works in the store, and the only SOB, I'm saying that to myself, is they're painting away nudes. Well, there are times when I feel like hitting myself, just, no, not, in maturity you have less of that. But
Yes.
younger,
Yes, yes.
younger, you really say, "What an idiot! What an idiot! What are you doing here? What this and that?" Because if you are painting and it pleases you, at least pleases you, something to comfort you, well, there's a consolation. But they're consolation prizes. I can see the advantage of a good business. I can see the family business was very good. I can see many things that are truly practical and good for the pocket. Okay. And art is very, very, very selective and very capricious and very, and damn you if you do and damn if you don't. Okay. So, well, you say, it's me. I don't have children that are crying for help for food. If I don't eat, I don't eat, and then nobody's hurt, etc., etc., etc. So I have a right to select the way I did. So I'm glad I did it, very much so.
Okay.
It has given me many, many beautiful insights about
Yes.
humanity,
Yes.
which is very important, and I can get on for hours about it.
Beautiful. Well, we thank you, Juby, Mr. Sansó, for this opportunity to have a conversation with you. You have honored us with this interview.
Thank you. I thank you for
Thank you so
being
much.
so patient with my yakety yak.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sansó.